You're listening to The Pump Fake.
And welcome into the Pump Fake, everybody. Jarrett Bailey here with you. As always, we are presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Week 3 preview show with the one and only Lindsay Rhodes. Hello, how are you?
Hi. Real excited that week 3 is underway and that we've got more right around the corner. It's an interesting week.
This is like the part of the year where I feel like, all right, it's just going to be like a whirlwind from here on out, because it feels like week 1 was just like 2 days ago and we're already talking about the third week of games. So it goes by fast, and I'm trying to savor every moment of it.
That said, I also am kind of excited to fast forward. I'm not trying to, wish this time away, as like young parents say. But like week 4, post week 4, I mean, I'm kind of interested to get to that point so that like it feels like our learnings mean something. Like that's kind of around the time where we have enough data and enough things that feel like there's a lot that's happened in the first couple weeks of the season that feels like it might be fluky. And so you want to get to like 4 weeks in till things kind of settle out.
September kind of is like that. It's kind of been that notion for the past few years. It's like that extension of the preseason. I think it's a little bit less of that now. Whereas like a couple years ago when like nobody played in August and it was just like this clunky mess to start off the year, we saw a little bit like the Bengals play their starters. The Chiefs and the Bills usually play at least some guys for a drive. So it's nice to see that get a little bit evened out. Speaking of the Bills, let's talk a little bit about last night. The Bills are now 3-0. The Dolphins are 0-3. Josh Allen and the Bills, like watching them, like they put up 30 points, but it felt like they could have put up 45. There was a couple drives where they, went 3 and out to kick off the third quarter. It's like, all right, what the hell's happening here? It felt like they were playing with their food a little bit too much. And Miami took advantage of that a little bit, tied the game late with a Tyreek Hill touchdown. And then the Zach Sealer roughing the punter on Cam Johnson kind of opened the dam for Buffalo to put the game away. 3 touchdown passes for Josh Allen. James Cook finds the end zone again. The Bills are now the second team in history to score 30 or more points in their first 3 games in 2 consecutive seasons. A lot of people said it was boring, but I think boring is good to an extent. You want it to be boring. And if you're boring putting up 31, that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, I was one of those people who thought it was boring. And also kind of thought that the Bills looked bored, like
a little bit, yeah.
In that sense where you're like, because I totally agree with you. You look at the final score and then they were tied at halftime, and you're like, it doesn't feel like it at all. And so Miami's sticking around, but it almost feels like self-inflicted wounds for Buffalo, more just like, as you see sometimes where teams like kind of play down to the level of competition.
Yeah.
And I kind of hate that. I hate that that's my takeaway from having watched that game for Miami, because I would much prefer to be like, hey, I think maybe they're onto something and the vibes are getting better. But like, and I also hate to talk about them in such broad, like vibesy sort of way. I work for a data company.
I've done that
like
so much this season, and sometimes that's just what it is.
But it feels like for them, that is what it is, right? Like, I mean, there are certainly a lot of X's and O's related things, like their secondary is a disaster. Their cornerbacks were a mess going into the season.
Two more got hurt last night, and they had to.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
It was like, oh, this literally has to stop. Like they have to stop getting hurt. Like they need that. So this position that is a weakness for them already, now they're losing the players that were the best options in a weak unit. Like that is terrible. So I wish that I felt a little bit more optimistic, but like also
some fella named Ethan Bonner was trotted out last night to play corner, who looks like he should be starring in a CW show, but no, he's starting at corner now for the Dolphins because their previous 4 guys are all down.
Yeah, including one with like the best name ever, which is Storm Duck. Like they need to get Storm Duck on the field just so that we can say his name and hear people say them. But I felt like, again, like speaking to the vibes, and we've heard about the weird locker room situation. Has McDaniel lost it? And they had a players only meeting and all that kind of stuff already early. But like, I just feel like he's a really interesting vibesy type coach to watch throughout his tenure in Miami. There's a certain level of cockiness that kind of was funny and very likable for a lot of people for the first couple of years. And now I watch him on the sideline and he just looks defeated. Like, and at no point during the game yesterday was he giving off that type of energy that he gave off for his first couple of years there in Miami. And I just feel like, again, vibes analysis is lame, but that's my main takeaway. I was like, this just feels so bad. Like, I'm not getting anything good out of this.
Not to be a complete cynical jackass or anything like that, but I'm a dark part of me revels in this where I'm just like, I was never like a big Mike McDaniel shtick guy from the jump. Like I was like, all right, dude, you wear Yeezys, you think he's quirky. And it's like, all right, I don't care. I'm kind of over it. And I'm not rooting for anybody to lose their job or anything like that, but I do look forward to never seeing a Mike McDaniel press conference again. Like at the combine every year, I'm just like, all right, dude, I get it. That's kind of my
I really liked it in the beginning. I totally understand not liking it.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked it in the sense that I'm trying to adjust the size of my head because it's like a huge noggin compared to yours. Anyway, I kind of liked it because it was so different. Like he looked like the guy who stands on the sideline and takes notes. And all of a sudden he's that person that's like he looks like a water boy and he's standing at the podium with the glasses that are so Miami and like all of these flashy kind of like stylistic details. Like it was just so antithetical kind of to like what you're used to seeing at the podium that I actually liked it. And I liked that in the first few years, he felt very, very like he had a very specific vision for his offense in particular, right? Like I was like, I get what they're trying to do. I get what they're trying to build. They went after speed guys. The ball, it was clearly like get the ball out fast, get it to the guy in space and let him make things happen. And it just sort of feels like the league has maybe caught up to what they're trying to do and they haven't had that pivot. Like they don't know how to add that next level of wrinkle. So,
and I think we've certainly seen like the peak of like the Tua experiment as well, where it felt like everybody last night was just sitting there saying, all right, this knucklehead interception is coming at some point. And of course, Terrell Bernard gets the interception late. Bills kick a field goal with like 30 seconds left or something of that nature.
By the way, wasn't that also a little bit like we've talked to the fact that Bernard was the guest or walking off the field, that they got him for the walk-off interview. I was like, this is also a low-key sign of the Bills' strength as a team. That like we've talked to them so many times after wins. Like, let's just get a new face in here.
Yeah.
Like we've never heard from you. You come talk, Anyway, that felt like a cosign also, just sort of in a subtle way of like the Bills' dominance.
He's kind of been like one of the more underrated guys in the league over the past few years too, because he's 4th in the league in takeaways over the past 3 years. So like he's been pretty good in terms of like opportunistic stuff. The Bills defense though, we can touch on that real quick too. It felt like every third down, they were just letting the Dolphins do whatever they wanted. And that was a frustrating watch. I assume, especially for Bills fans, watching, a Sean McDermott defense who's supposed to be, a defensive oriented coach, just getting taken to the woodshed on every third down.
Yes.
All right, good. That was great.
No, I feel like, I feel like I have just been like spewing like nothing but negativity about the Dolphins. And, it's getting rough. I like you do not like to see anyone lose their job.
Of course.
But I'm also at a point where like it feels like once things turn and they start to feel like an inevitability and just a matter of time, then I am a proponent of just do it. Just like go, because are we in terms of a coaching change there, which I feel like that was another takeaway there of like Al Michaels is at a point in his career where he has no ability to PS his way through
love zero shits given Al Michaels. None. It is the greatest thing on sports television right now.
Yeah. It's like he was like trying to still lean into the like network broadcaster thing where
Yeah.
we're partners with the
Mhm.
teams and stuff like that.
Al's
We're
basically
not
sitting
supposed
there
to,
like, all right, Mike
Yes.
McDaniel will be gone in a matter of minutes. And over down to Kaylee Hartung. Let's see what she has to say.
And by the way, there was also and I legitimately don't know the answer to this, but in the beginning of the Open, when they actually start the broadcast, so they've done the pregame and then they start the broadcast and they roll their like Open that's specifically, it has some Dolphin stuff in it and some Bills stuff in it, but it's like all of the graphics and whatever for
Yeah.
Thursday Night Football. The song that they played was Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash.
That's pretty on the nose, isn't it?
But it started with McDaniel quotes, right? Like where you're just hearing McDaniel talk like from the podium. And I was like, do they always play this song? Is this a song that they own for this? Like, is this always the song? Or is this literally like he's on the hot seat?
Right.
Like I don't know the answer. I don't know if they just picked that song for that game or if they always played that song. But I was like, does anyone else know the answer? Because I have to know if they're literally alluding it through song in their Open about him being on the hot seat.
Which is kind of funny. The slightest bit funny. Just the slightest.
Way to set the table.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, we can move on from this game and focus on the Sunday slate. So we'll touch on the biggest games. We'll touch on every game, but we'll spend the most time getting a little bit of deep dives into the biggest games that Sunday has to offer. Let's start with the Rams and the Eagles. The Rams are 3.5-point dogs on the road to Philadelphia. 2 games between these two teams last year. And I think the biggest thing we're going to be watching for is, can the Rams slow down Saquon Barkley? Because they couldn't last year, and that ended up being the biggest difference in these games. The Rams defense in the first 2 weeks, very good, though. 4th in yards per game, 4th in EPA per play. But they're 18th when it comes to stopping the run, 19th in EPA per rush. Philadelphia has lived and died, largely lived, by the run game so far this season. They've asked Jalen Hurts to do next to nothing because he hasn't really had to. That'll be the biggest thing I watch for, is can the Rams force Philadelphia to do something that they haven't done this season, which is make Jalen Hurts win the game.
Yes, and also get AJ Brown like massively involved. Anyway, may or may not have him on several fantasy teams.
Doesn't it feel like he's like this close to snapping, but like he can't because they're winning?
Yeah, I mean, cut paste, right? I feel like we've said that for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is a narrative. We go through this story, that specific story, all the time. All the time. But also there's part of me that's like, that feels weird, right? For a team that is as good as they are. That there are full games and stretches of time where we go like, how do we get the ball to our best wide receiver?
Right.
Like, how is that a story that we're talking about this frequently? But that rematch from the playoffs last year, I think this one will be fun in the sense that one was clearly impacted by weather, I think.
Yes.
And so,
so the Rams had, were 20 yards away from probably winning that game. Like it came down to the wire.
Yeah. And I think in many ways, the two teams are very similar to the teams that, they were last year.
Yeah.
The addition of Devontae Adams in Cooper Kupp's place, I think, has been a very good one for the Rams.
Yes.
Devontae Adams has been playing really well. Well, he's interesting because I want to say he's been playing really well, but in some ways, so our Sumer score ratings, that where we're evaluating the players just based on their tracking data and kind of trying to zero down whether each individual player is impacting the game in a positive way or doing their part well, regardless of what happens on the play, right? Like the result of the play. So you're measuring his route running ability, his ability to create separation even when the ball doesn't go to him, that kind of stuff. Puka and Devontae have both been in the top 10 in our receiver Sumer score both weeks. Which is obviously a great sign for this offense. But Devontae Adams' stat line through 2 games is just like brain breaking for me. His catch rate is 47%. Like that is insanely low, right? 47% of the balls that have come his way, he has caught. And yet his catch rate over expected is positive. It's barely positive, but it's positive. Normally, if you're only catching less than half of the balls coming at you, you would expect to see a catch rate over expected of minus something. Like something's going wrong here. And so the fact that he's catching more balls than you would expect him to catch, and it's only 47% is just wild to me. Yeah. So I think that this is obviously related to the number of targets that he gets in the red zone, where, you know, the expectation of catching, like, those are just tougher plays to make in general, is probably the answer there. But it felt very much last week like they were really force feeding the ball to him. They went to him on 3 straight plays at the goal line early in the game, and it just felt like we're trying to get him involved in this offense and have the ability to do that in this game, right? Like we can play around with it a little bit more.
They're basically using Tennessee's defense as like your tune-up game to figure out some things that you can do to get him at least more involved, feel like he's doing more. Had a touchdown late in the game that was kind of the kill shot as well. Matthew Stafford, by the way, the rate at which he's throwing into contested windows but still completing passes. There was one that kind of went viral against Tennessee where he like sidearms it around a defensive lineman and somehow fits it past the defensive back to complete the pass. Like, it's vintage Matthew Stafford stuff, but it still finds a way to blow my mind that he's still doing this after, you know, a summer when we were talking about, all right, is he going to be able to walk by week 1? Because we're kind of worried here. But so far through the first 2 weeks, it looks like Matthew Stafford hasn't lost a step.
There's a reason that people call him your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback, right? Like, he's not flashy in the ways that we really like, you know, the ways in which Lamar is flashy, or like, you know, Patrick Mahomes back when we knew for sure that he was amazing. Where like with the sidearm and like all the flashy things, like Stafford's just a very, very good, you know, pocket passer, which feels almost like a callback. Yeah. Like his scramble rate, like there was a period of time for a long time last year that his scramble rate was 0. And
that sounds about right.
That just never happens anymore. But the deep ball EPA for the Rams in particular is the 2nd highest in the league. The intermediate ball EPA is 7th highest, while Philly's defensive EPA allowed on those plays ranks 23rd. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that intermediate area of the field as a possible advantage that the Rams have. How often do they try to get the ball to their 2 playmakers in that space? But also just take a moment to talk about the chess match that is the Rams offense versus the Eagles defense.
McVay versus Fangio is going to be the biggest thing that we're going to be paying attention to here. Yes.
But so one of the things that I think we've been talking about more in the last year, especially, is the correlation between motion rates and play action rates, and tied to EPA per play average going way up. Like, it's, you know, it's consistently predictive that if you do this a lot, your EPA is going to go up. And the Rams offense has the 2nd highest rate of motion so far this year and the highest rate of play action. So like, put that kind of coaching approach where just everything is in a blender at all times against Vic Fangio. And I'm very excited for this game.
And we saw in week 1 that Dallas had success with that intermediate to deep passing attack on Philadelphia's defense. And if not for a few key CeeDee Lamb drops, you know, maybe the result of that game looks a little bit different. When you play a team like Kansas City last week, who just doesn't have the ability to do that. And even when they did, we'll talk about the Chiefs in a minute, it's just brutal to watch. Like, and, you know, the Eagles could kind of just condense the field and be like, okay, Pat, run for 6 yards. We don't care. You can't beat us over the top. And eventually you're probably going to have to do that if you want to win. And they couldn't do it. So looking forward to seeing what that challenge presents. Philadelphia against the Rams should be a fun one in the early window. Let's go to the AFC West. The Broncos and the Chargers. You know, everybody proclaimed that, this is going to be the year for Denver. They're going to take a step forward, be real contenders, even though they didn't beat a team worth a piss last year, respectfully speaking. And the offense of the first 2 weeks hasn't looked very good. Yeah, I know. There's only so many.
That always means disrespect.
Do you remember in a Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby's like, Mr. Dennett, with all due respect, that's a stupid fucking idea. He's like, you can't just say with all due respect and then say whatever you want to say as if it's not. So yeah, that kind of the same energy there. But the Broncos offense hasn't looked all that great. 18th in EPA. Both defenses have only allowed 2 touchdowns so far this year and have looked good. But I do think that the difference here is that the Chargers throughout the first 2 weeks have let Justin Herbert be Justin Herbert, which has been incredibly refreshing to see. It felt like last year he had training wheels on him all season. They just wanted to run the ball and only throw, and it was like perfectly necessary to do so.
Yeah.
Throughout the first 2 games, Justin Herbert has run the show, and it's been really nice to see him look like, 2020, 2021 Justin Herbert again.
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, as somebody who's a huge fan of his skill set,
Mm-hmm.
I am glad that this is happening so that maybe, fingers crossed, we can stop talking about him in the national television narrative way that we have.
Sure, yeah.
Put that away and start talking about the things that he does really well and not blaming their lack of team success on him.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do think that the things that you said about Herbert running the show, and I think there are certainly good aspects to that. I would very much like to see this run game get going because they have been one of the best passing offenses in the NFL, but they've been one of the worst run games.
It's a complete inverse on what we've become used to with them.
100%. And I would very much like I don't mind a high pass rate over expected for this offense, but we have to get that EPA on rushes up. Like we have to be a little bit more efficient. And so what's going on in the run game? That said, I do not think that this is the week that gets ironed out. Like this Broncos defense is very, very good. And so the questions that you brought up about like what's going on with the Broncos offense, I think that those are very valid and we're talking about, but like this defense is so good. And so that's really, it won't be maybe it'll be the decider of the game, but much like I said, Rams offense versus Phillies defense, I'm looking at Chargers offense versus Broncos defense in terms of like watching good football take place and kind of seeing who wins that one. Cause the Broncos just have weapons all over the field. And so I, again, in terms of like areas of the field where you're kind of looking for our Stats and Scheme newsletter, which you can subscribe to at sumersports.com, puts out like a color-coded chart of strengths and weaknesses and kind of matchup related things. And one of the things that you'll notice looking at that is that they do like the different levels of the field, EPA against and for. And Herbert's been really good at attacking all 3 levels of the field. But the advantage that it looks like they have here is Denver has their bottom 10 in EPA against in the short area of the field. So I'm kind of looking for something there. But like I said, the Broncos defense has been very good against the run. So I don't necessarily see this as the week that we get those running backs unlocked for Los Angeles. And then I just want to see like how they handle, the cornerbacks and Pat Surtain and whether or not the wide receivers for Los Angeles can keep having success, because there is some element of the pass catchers there in Los Angeles that were definitely my biggest question mark going into the season. Like who's going to rise to the occasion? We know we like Ladd McConkey. Okay. And then who's wide receiver 2, who's wide receiver 3? What are they doing? Like Keenan Allen having the resurgence that he's had and not looking like he's 800 years old is outstanding.
Quentin Johnston grew a pair of hands over the offseason.
Oh my God, he can catch the ball. This is so exciting. What is this, year 3 for Quentin Johnston? Because people talk about the year 3 jump, right? And the same thing has happened to Dontavian Wicks in Green Bay, where his problem was the exact same, was like all of the route running stuff that we have said that he was very good, like one of the best, wide receivers in the NFL from a route running standpoint. And then the after the catch stuff was all really good. And so you're like, something's happening at the catch point.
It's just a matter of, can he get the ball and hold on to it? I
mean, it sort of feels like that's like receiver 101, right? Like, can I catch the ball? But it's such a weird thing where you're like, those 2 guys, Quentin Johnston and Dontavian Wicks, were both like, just get him a jugs machine in the offseason and see if we can figure this out, right? And in both cases, it seems like the answer so far, small sample size, has been yes. So if we can keep that going, and particularly against this Broncos defense, that will be a very good sign for LA.
I think another good sign for them is that Daniel Jones and the Colts offense was able to move the ball consistently against Denver. I'm not going to turn this into a let me crap on Daniel Jones party or anything, but like prior to the season, Daniel Jones was Daniel Jones, and I know he's had a very good,
100%.
first few weeks. Very happy for him for doing that. But if Daniel Jones is able to put up 300 yards on Denver, you would think that Justin Herbert would be able to have some success as well. So that's the bigger thing that I'm looking for. On top of Ken Bo Nix, like show all of his defenders and also, all of his doubters like me, like, okay, like it wasn't just a fluke year one. I'm able to be a franchise guy. I think when you look at their group of weapons outside of Cortland Sutton, like the Chargers are, if you could just shut down Cortland Sutton and say, hey, make Evan Ingram beat us, then you're going to be in a good spot if you're the Chargers defense, if you're Jesse Minter.
Or who, by the way, whew,
head coach next year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right. Like he's definitely going to be one of the, like, just remember that name. We're going to be having that conversation in a few months for sure. But, what did you just say? I got sidetracked with the Jesse Minter, love fest.
Bo Nix.
The wide receivers.
Evan Ingram.
Troy Franklin is the one actually that I'm really curious about, because he was a guy who just like did nothing last year. And they had that connection that you just lifted up from Oregon. We were kind of like, oh, maybe this will be interesting. And then last year did not go there. And then he had a good game last week and he actually looked good. Right. So it wasn't just production. Like, sometimes that can be fluky. And I think he actually probably maybe got better from year one to year two. And so I'm really interested to watch Troy Franklin and whether that emerges as another weapon that they have, because that's always been my problem with the Broncos offense. Like you said, it's like Cortland Sutton for me, just like zooming out and going, okay, big picture narrative. Like, who do you want your wide receiver one to be? He's on the lower end of wide receiver ones for me, right? In a perfect world, he's probably in a 1A, 1B tandem, and they don't have
he's like
that
a
guy.
very, very good number two on a great team. Right?
I totally agree. Yep. And so they really just need more weapons to emerge. And then also I mentioned motion and play action. This is a team that does not utilize those things. Broncos are last in motion rate. They're near the bottom in play action. And so I'm interested to see whether or not they kind of switch that up, or if that's just the way that they're going to move forward.
They also don't have like a ground attack that like horrifies you either. I know they drafted RJ Harvey and he had a long touchdown run in week one. But in terms of like proven, like higher echelon running games, running backs,
we have a revenge game this week.
So
if you believe in those, J.K. Dobbins.
Oh, of course. Yes. My apologies. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I kind of forgot J.K. Dobbins was a Bronco for a minute.
I know. Well, because he always gets hurt.
He does.
So by the end of the year, you have forgotten about him every single year of his entire career.
He'll be an incredible pull on like those immaculate grids in 10 years. To be like, oh yeah, I forgot J.K. Dobbins was a Bronco and a Raven. Damn it. 0.2% of people remembered that shit. All right.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Let's go now to Sunday night. God help us. Giants hosting the Chiefs, both teams 0-2. What's the over-under on like time left in the game before Tirico and Collinsworth are just asleep or talking about baseball from the 90s? Because
do you think so? Do you think this isn't close?
I think it'll be close. I just think it'll be boring.
Okay, paint the picture of boring for me. Because there's definitely that possibility, but then like the Giants Cowboys was the best game of the week last year from an excitement level standpoint, not necessarily the best football that we saw a week, but like
I'll certainly give you that.
Okay,
I think the Chiefs secondary, Chiefs defense as a whole is much better than Dallas is right now, and I think with Spags on the other side, like that's going to present a whole new level of challenges for Russell Wilson and the Giants offense than anything that Dallas could really present. So I do think there's a world where the Chiefs like methodically put together like a 13-play, 50-yard drive. Butker kicks like a 48-yard field goal, and it's like 3-0 at halftime because the Giants defense, especially their front, is pretty good. And if Mahomes is running for his life all day and not able to throw to anybody because no one's open to begin with, like I think it'll be a lower scoring game from that perspective. But I do think that Kansas City will be able to clamp down on the Giants because, like I said, the Chiefs defense is better than what Dallas could present in New York. So I do think it could be, I'm expecting a low scoring, I would rather spend like a day at the DMV than watch the Chiefs offense anymore. 2 weeks has been enough. I can't do it. It's so bad. We talked about like the issues when it comes to the lack of separation for the Chiefs receivers. But you look at Mahomes, 3 of 8 on passes over 20 yards this season so far. And there was one golden opportunity against Philadelphia. Tyquan Thornton is in Kansas City, Kansas, while the rest of the Eagles defense is still at Arrowhead, and he just airmails it by 10, 15 yards. So like these are things that Mahomes just hasn't looked good at when it comes to throwing the deep ball for like a while. And I think that that's certainly, we have to talk about that. It feels like Mahomes like has reached like somewhat of a level to some people where like you can't critique him because then you bring up, oh, he still won 3 Super Bowls. He's been to 5 Super Bowls, which I totally get. And until somebody takes that
in the Super Bowl every freaking year. So let's slow that roll. But
of course,
yeah.
But there are things that he has, declined in, and the deep ball seems to be one of them.
I've got his deep ball EPA or the offense's deep ball EPA ranking 7th.
Then maybe I'm just crazy then.
But his completion percentage is in the bottom 5 of the NFL, which is, and that's not an efficiency stat. And I don't recommend you like just go randomly look at completion percentages because especially in this case, there's a whole bunch of context that goes along with that, i.e. who are our wide receivers? But yeah, the offense has definitely not looked as good as we would expect. And I would argue that Patrick Mahomes has looked like he's taken a hit also with his environment. What has been interesting though is that we're seeing him pull out the scramble.
The fact that he leads all quarterbacks in rushing yards right now, like that's a crime for the Chiefs and tells you pretty much all you need to know about their receivers and the rest of the offense.
Very much so. It also points to the wide abilities that he has. The fact that he can pull that out, right? Yeah. And he doesn't frequently. But like here we are being reminded that Patrick Mahomes is a rushing quarterback.
Had that really nice rushing touchdown against Philadelphia last week. Or it's like, all right, yeah, that's still in there.
Yeah. I do feel like I just want them to not dig themselves into too deep a hole because I'm still convinced that they're going to be there at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And also they're going to get those receivers back, right? Like you're going to get Rashee Rice back at some point. You're going to get Xavier Worthy. And so you just sort of know that the passing game is going to look, maybe I'm wrong, but I fully expect that they'll be able to flip that switch once they add those pieces back to the offense. And so
I would agree with that. And if a Tyreek Hill trade happens, like everybody's kind of like whispering about, then once Worthy gets back, once Rashee Rice gets back, if and when 10 enters the equation, which, he very well may not, but even so, get Rice back, get Worthy back. I still think this team's going to win the division. Like I'm fully convinced until another team wins the AFC West. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, the Chiefs are done because we've done that the last 2 years and they've appeared in the Super Bowl both years.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give myself that false hope until it's something actually happens to show me, okay, yeah, somebody else rose to the occasion.
They feel like the most like, hey, we overreact to things early in the season. And this is the one where I'm like, right. I'll stay away from those conversations completely because
I do too.
This is a team that we just have way too much data on the majority of this group and their ability to do certain things. So the fact that they haven't done them out of the gate, I am not at all worried. I would like for them maybe next year in the offseason, or as you alluded to via trade, I would like for them to address this pass catching. They need this receiver room to get, and they've had some bad luck, right? With Rashee Rice and with Xavier Worthy not being available to them. That's just bad luck, but I would like the depth to get ironed out. Like it feels like we've had this conversation for too many years. And yes, they got to the Super Bowl despite the fact that they didn't have a real impressive, receiving room last year, but I am very interested to see. I think that this is a week where the Russell Wilson moonball thing does not work against this defense.
Agree. Yeah,
and my guess is that we see. I mean, it's a very different offense, the Giants, than the Eagles, but like we saw the blitzes coming Fast and Furious against them. Kansas City has the #1 blitz rate in the league.
Oh, wow.
That they don't have a very high blitz EPA.
Yeah.
So we'll see how, but I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't just because they're going up against Jalen Hurts and they're going, the people that they're facing are people who can kind of get out of that situation.
Yeah. Herbert can move. Hurts can obviously move. So that's fair.
This is not, I don't know that Russell Wilson's that guy anymore.
I do. He's not. Okay. I watched it last year in Pittsburgh pretty closely. He tried to be, but you know what? Good for Russell Wilson though. He just had his career high in passing yards last week, and he's still finding a way to do just goofy stuff with the moon ball. So good for him. Honestly, no shade whatsoever.
It's so interesting because you just once anyone gets to a situation where it becomes obvious that and this happens with wide receivers also as they get older, you're kind of like, okay, let's put them in a position where we highlight the things that they can still do. Let's build around that. Let's build an offense or plays where we put them in positions to do those things most frequently. And Russell's strengths versus his weaknesses are so interesting in the sense that I don't know that you can sustainably do that for an entire season.
I agree.
Right? Because defenses will figure that out. Him needing to throw to the sideline the way that he does. I don't know if that's something that defenses aren't going to figure out a way to shut down.
Yeah, it can't. The entire passing game plan can't just be out routes and piss missiles to Malik. It's got to be something. You got to figure something out in the intermediate portions of the field and over the middle.
However, the one thing I did want to highlight is Wan'Dale Robinson has been very interesting to me this year because again, I mentioned Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua being in the top 10 in our receiving Sumer score. There are 7 wide receivers for whom that is true, that they've been in the top 10 both weeks. And you would, like Devontae and Puka, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, Jamar Chase. Yep, I got that. Mm-hmm. They're all names that you would go, yeah, that makes sense. Zay Flowers, whatever. Wan'Dale Robinson is one of those 7. So he's not only having just weird, production fluky, sometimes that happens where somebody has a big blow up game for game planning. And again, small sample size, but him being there for 2 straight weeks is something that piques my interest as far as watching him moving forward. Did he take a step forward? His ADOT has been longer. He was always in that offense, the low ADOT guy. I want to say, and I don't have it in front of me, I want to say his ADOT last year was 5 something. So he was it was just so clearly, if you just looked at data, you're like, oh, okay, Malik goes here. Mm-hmm. And Wan'Dale catches the balls here, and this is how their offense is constructed. And this year, his ADOT is again, I don't have it in front of me. I want to say it's 8 or something. It's more of a normal ADOT range. So he doesn't feel like he's just the short range target. Yeah. And so I think I'm interested to just watch him and see if he's able to continue along that path.
All right. Well, that's a noteworthy tidbit to look at then. Let's stick in the NFC East. Let's go Dallas, Chicago. The Cowboys are 1.5 favorites on the road against the Bears. Bears are 0-2, and the defense is bad. Let's look here. The Cowboys offense, by the way, has been good. They're 3rd in the NFL in yards per game. They're top 10 in both yards per play and EPA per play. The Bears have allowed are 23rd in passing yards per game. So defensively, they also don't have Jalen Johnson. That's not going to be great for trying to slow down George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. 1.5 feels low here. I was very surprised it wasn't higher in favor of Dallas. I'm certainly going to take them to win and cover that. You? I am, yeah. I just nothing against the work that Ben Johnson's done offensively, because I thought Caleb actually looked fine last week, made a few throws. It was all right, that's why you drafted him. Steps are being taken, but defensively, it's a bad group right now.
I will push back on that just a teeny bit in the sense that they played Green Bay. No, they played
Minnesota and then
Detroit.
And then Detroit, yes.
Detroit
looked like the Infinity Gauntlet version of themselves in that game. So
and I think Detroit will do that. Right? And I realize that Detroit's weird because of the week 1 game against Green Bay. And so you're like, they looked bad against them, and then they looked like world beaters the next week. And is that about the Bears being very bad, or is that about the Packers being very good? Either way, I kind of think the way that I'm wrapping those two games, my brain around them is that I think Green Bay is like very good this year. Right. And I think that's one of the things that we've learned in the first couple of weeks for a number of different things, but just the Detroit situation, I think is a great example of the fact that that team looked so good against Chicago. And that's partially a Chicago story, but you don't dominate a team that much unless you also are very, very good. And the fact that they did not look very good against Green Bay, it like becomes a tiered situation, right?
Of course.
But I think yes, you want the Bears to have looked better. I do wonder how much of that has to do with them just playing a very, very good team last week in a lot of ways. But you could make the argument that the Cowboys offense is also, they're going to have the ability to hit some explosive plays.
Yeah.
Similar to the way that the Lions did against the Bears. And so I'm interested to see what Dak and Pickens can cook up maybe in particular. The story for me becomes Cowboys defense and Bears offense. And both of them are like, like, does anyone have an edge here in any way? Because I feel like that that's where we're going to learn the most is, I guess, when the Bears have the ball.
I guess Jadeveon Clowney's playing on Sunday for the Cowboys because they've just had zero presence off the edge. They had to do something. So we'll see.
Imagine that.
Yeah, who would have thought that trading Micah Parsons would bite you in the ass? Crazy how that works. Are we both going Cowboys here, or are you gonna maybe go the other direction?
I don't feel strongly here. This is like, so in terms of real betting, and I know that you're just asking me to pick a side, right?
Sure.
This is a game that I would 100% stay away from.
Oh, really?
Which the 1.5 points might be your first clue that like, it's just to like, they kind of know what they're doing, right? There's a reason that it's set so close together. I feel like I would dissuade people from actually betting on this unless they have a really, really strong feeling, because I just think that there are enough unknowns with regards to the Bears offense and with regards to the Cowboys defense. I kind of think that both are like just maybe not that good.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess you could say that the Cowboys offense has some pieces that
I think that's the biggest thing for me is that
maybe that's where the edge lies.
Yes, I think that's where the edge lies for me, is that I can trust the Cowboys offense to at least put up some points.
I will take the Cowboys, but I don't feel strongly about it.
That's fair. That's completely fair. All right, we'll get to the rest of the week 1 slate after this word from Hello Tickets. This episode is brought to you by Hello Tickets. Guys, none of us love the leader in tickets right now. We all know the app that I'm talking about. But if you head over to hellotickets.com, you can find cheaper tickets than what Ticketmaster is offering. For example, if you want to go to the Steelers home opener, if you're a Steelers fan like me, the seats that you would buy at Hello Tickets are almost $30 cheaper than what you would pay over on Ticketmaster. The link in the description will get you started. Head over to hellotickets.com today. All right, welcome back to the Pump Fake. Going through every game in the week 3 slate. I said week 1. It's it's still early season for all of us. Don't worry. So let's go through the rest of these games real quick. Raiders Commanders. Marcus Mariota starting that game. Geno's coming off a bad performance against the Chargers, throwing 3 picks. I think
was that
it wasn't good. I mean, I've never been like a huge Geno guy. I've never been like a Geno like hater per se, but I do think that like there's a lot of people who overrate him a little bit. And I think that kind of brought him down to earth a little. But going against Mark, go ahead.
I want more. I want more storytelling off of that game, because it just felt like something was so off. Like he didn't look anything like he normally looks.
Right.
I think why is my head doing this?
I don't know, but it's very exciting. I'm sure our YouTube viewers
where's my head gonna go next?
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, see, the camera just like moves. It's like
Is your house haunted?
What's happening? It's like as I'm. Okay, sorry.
Maybe you have a ghoul.
I don't know what's going on.
New Conjuring movie is coming out. Maybe it found its way to you.
Anyway, maybe it found its way to Geno last week.
Yeah, maybe it did.
It's still so early in the season that we're just like collecting data about what different things look like. And I was just like, I don't know what to make of any of this. It just feels like sometimes this happens where you just have a fluky game where somebody is just off. Like it's just not your night. And then you're like, okay, do I just throw it away? You know how they say to like throw out the best and the worst and then like find the middle. I have a sneaking suspicion that that's going to be the worst for Geno, and that's not indicative of what we're going to continue to see from him. And it's just the throwaway game. And I hate that the throwaway game came so early in the year because we want to figure out what we're looking at so that we can make solid predictions. And I feel like I just left more confused than ever.
I think I'm going to bet the over 1.5 touchdown passes for him this week. I feel like there's going to be a nice bounce back game. The Commanders defense is a defense that you can make those plays against. Although like I like what Trey Amos did last week for Washington. They've had kind of this mini bye week, but still not going to have Jaden Daniels out there. I think that that's going to play a big factor into the Raiders just having the ball more and having more opportunities to score. So if anybody's looking for a good player prop in this game over at FanDuel, the over 1.5 touchdown passes for Geno Smith, currently plus money, plus 116, might be worth a chase.
There you go. I like it. I'll tell you what I'm really interested to see. So I have a slight obsession with Terry McLaurin and where he lines up, because there's a pattern that Cliff Kingsbury always lines up his number one wide receiver at left wide receiver. And doesn't
go ask DeAndre Hopkins about that.
Yeah, 100%. So it's consistent. Well, last week's game was on Prime Vision, it was on Amazon Prime. I don't know. Have you watched the Prime Vision version of that broadcast?
I haven't watched that one. No.
Okay. You need to, at least check it out, right? Like some people are like me are like, I love this. This is how I want to watch
it's
every single
a very,
game.
very fun watch. Yes.
It's a super specific, like they're identifying like where people are. You've got like route trails that will show up every once in a while. Like if you're looking for more information about what's happening on the field, or if you have ADD and you just need someone to be like, this person is here right before the play. Like I kind of love that. Where I'm going with this is I did not love it last week because of my obsession about where Terry McLaurin lines up. And so to have Prime Vision for that specific game and to have it go right before, like, so they line up and they're in their spots and then they go boop. And this is where, and they identify who's where. And every single time it was like, he's here. He's here. He's here. And I was like, oh my God, I can't not notice that he's lined up in the exact same spot every single time. He lined up on 86% of his plays in that game at left wide receiver.
Goodness.
And I just can't. I understand why they do it in terms of pace, right? It's just to cut down on the things that have to happen in the huddle, and everyone kind of knows where they're going. And so so they can just move, get more plays out. And I understand the analytics behind that. I understand the thought process there, but it also feels like, as a defensive coordinator, if you're like, I know exactly where he's going to be at all times, like very. And so someone like Pete Carroll, like going up against that, I'm just, I will always highlight that as the thing to watch. And as the year went on last year, they started moving him around a lot more in the regular season. In the playoffs, they went right back to this type of pattern. But yeah, I'm really interested to watch this one, less so without Jaden Daniels.
Sure.
You know,
well, you can still get the Raiders plus 2.5 also, which I'm sprinting to bet as we record this podcast, because that's absurd. What are we doing?
So
people?
If you start looking away at your phone while I'm talking,
I'm literally, you can assume I'm doing it right as I'm talking about it right now. Everybody is watching me do this. Go sign up for FanDuel, everybody. Show sponsored by FanDuel. So that's my biggest thing right now is that I think Geno's going to bounce back. I think the Commanders are just going to be a zombie offensively with Mariota under center. I just can't find a way to talk myself into the Commanders winning this game. So I'm just going to bet the Raiders to win outright in this game on the road. Yeah, I think that.
I don't hate that.
Yeah,
I don't hate that at all. I'd very much like to see Ashton Genty has not been what I expected.
Yeah, what's up with his usage?
Yeah, let's get that up. This feels like a good week to get that up, to be honest, right? Yeah. Especially with Geno coming off of the game that he had last week. Like, let's just maybe lean on the run a little bit and take advantage and balance things out and not put him in that position. Like, for so many different reasons, this feels like an interesting week to maybe lean into the Ashton Genty high draft pick.
I agree. Friend of the show, Ashton Jency. Give him the damn ball. Let's move on to Atlanta, Carolina, and
Yes.
I couldn't possibly care less about the Panthers Bowl.
I'm sad about the Panthers. And a little bit, they have been the team that I have felt most disappointed about so far, because I really thought that, I like a lot of the moves that they've made. I feel like I have been on board with a lot of the rationale of, and at the end of the year last year, it felt like arrow pointing up. And I thought that they would kind of pick up where they left off and build on it with their offseason moves. And that has not been the way that they started the season. And we're seeing a lot of the same problems, like, in the fantasy space, like start your running backs against the Panthers, like this is like there are patterns that are starting
or like
to develop.
the survivor picks is like, all right, I'll just pick who's playing the Panthers this week. That'll be good.
And I just didn't think that that's what we were in for. I didn't think that they were going to be all of a sudden a playoff team this year, but I thought that they were going to maybe take steps more towards being like a 500 team, or like just right over 500.
Maybe like
I thought
the
that
year 2 of Dan Campbell with the Lions, where they're at least scrappy and they can, they'll give you a tough out.
Yeah. And I just, we haven't seen it, but there are signs of scrappiness. I'm a little bit worried that Bryce hasn't looked the way that he did at the end of the year last year. Defense still has some issues. I picked up the Falcons in so many leagues to start their defense, and I don't feel good about it. I don't want to bet against the Panthers having success, but
the Panthers are scrappy, but in the form of like they're scrappy do, where they're just like annoying and completely inconsequential of what's going to happen. Unfortunate. Like I like Bryce Young and I want him to be good. They ended the season seemingly on like a really good note last year against Atlanta, where Bryce played really well. So, I don't know.
Well, are we still looking at like Hunter Renfrow? Like, is Hunter Renfrow going to do what he did last year? Like, what?
Is he still there? I thought they cut him.
Yeah. And then brought him back.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Because they had an injury, and so then they had to call him back. And
oh, good. Yeah, I'm sure that wasn't awkward.
Ask for a do-over.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Falcons to win, but the Panthers to cover, because the Falcons can't play a game that isn't a one-score game. So that's what I guess they did last week. So I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth there. But I'll take the Falcons by like 4.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I'm looking forward to Bijan's performance in this game.
That's a good shout.
And it's Bijan again now.
Yeah. Make up your mind, bud. Like, what are we doing here?
Like, why are we having this many conversations about your name? To just circle back to the original thing.
Yeah, it is a bit odd. Green Bay and Cleveland, the things that Micah Parsons is going to do to Joe Flacco are mean. It's just not going to be good. The Packers, only 7.5 point favorites. I understand it's a road game, but it's not like they're traveling far.
What do you want? What do you want? Cleveland's defense has been good too, though. Like,
that's true. I'll give you that. Yeah, good point.
So maybe that's kind of where this is coming from.
The Bills just opened as like 11.5 point favorites against the Dolphins, though. I thought it was going to be around that neighborhood.
Yeah, but the Dolphins had been bad everywhere,
I guess.
Right? Like, if you're like, hey, Cleveland's defense is actually bad. I mean, and they played Cincinnati.
Like Cincinnati week 1, and then just got their doors blown off by the Ravens.
Right. I mean, but those are two very, well, you would think Cincinnati's offense was a very good offense.
Yeah, but it's September, so.
Yeah. I think that line is probably all Cleveland's defense, because I can't imagine that there's any expectation that Cleveland's offense is going to be able to do anything against the Packers. I think it's going to be a real long day for Cleveland's offensive line. Like, based on Cleveland's pressure rate and EPA against pressure, and Green Bay's domination in those types of pass rush situations, I think it could be rough. I think we're going to see maybe a lot of, we're already seeing a lot of tight end usage, right? Like, but this feels like a day that you just go heavy, right? If you're Cleveland, and maybe lean into trying to establish the run early, because it also has the added benefit of working the clock and doing that whole thing, like trying to keep the ball and the number of opportunities that Green Bay has to score, like tries to limit them, so that if you think that their defense can maybe bring them down a notch from where they are, then maybe you limit the opportunities for them to score on those explosives.
Jordan Love, gonna bet the under 41.5 in this game, by the way. That
are you?
Yeah. I don't think Cleveland's going to score double digits. Like that's.
But I mean, so then you're sort of like, I mean, okay.
I think it'll be like a 20-6 game.
6.
20-6. I'll give them 6. I'll give them 2 field goals. Yeah.
Woof.
That is 41.5. Both those defenses are good. Now that I've said it though, it'll be an offensive just palooza. So
I doubt but you're right. I doubt that it will be. I just don't see a way. And the situation that I described kind of leans towards a lower scoring game, right?
Yeah.
Even if Green Bay is having some success, then if you can keep the ball out of their hands so they don't have a chance to like completely run up the score and just like leave you in a situation where you can't compete. But that is the thing about Green Bay so far, right? Is their ability to just chuck it downfield.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love has had so much time to throw. And let those longer plays develop. He has the third longest time to pressure and the second longest time to throw. So pressure's not coming. That O-line's giving him time, and he's taking it to find the most optimal receiving target, and then he's chucking it downfield. He has the longest ADOT in the league so far.
Seeing his passing chart from the game against Washington, real quarterback play. That is my quarterback. Like, throw the damn ball.
But also, like, it's the environmentally perfect scenario, because sometimes you have high ADOTs where you're like, it's because they're behind the 8 ball. Right. And they just have to, like, they're looking for explosives, or they're in 3rd and long. And so now all of a sudden we have to throw the ball, and we have to throw it farther than we would like. Right. Because our offense is shit. Like in his case, this is actually a sign of like a very healthy offense. So, yeah.
Watching him, like, he's legit like one of my 2 to 3 favorite guys to watch in the league, because he throws the ball with such like an arrogance, which is a compliment. Like, I can he would be perfect in like the 60s, like rip a cigarette, flick it, and then just start slinging it all over. Like he's such a throwback in the matter of just like, yeah, I'm gonna fit it in there. Not much you can really do about it. Watch this. And he's done it more often than not. So love Jordan Love. Yeah, I'll take Green Bay like 23-6, 23-9, somewhere in that vicinity. Good by me.
It's a lot to a little.
A lot to a little. So yes, that's a good way to describe it.
This is, well, I mean, I don't know if you want to, in Survivor pools, if you want to, like, you know, waste your Green Bay, but like this feels pretty obvious to me. Now watch. The second I said that, I just like kiss of death.
I'm horrified that this is going to come back to bite me, because I said it was going to be a low scoring game. I bet some unders last week, and like the NFL had its most points in like a decade or something. So it was just a bad week of betting last week for me. Hopefully we can rebound in that light. Speaking of unders, the Steelers and the Patriots. The Steelers haven't won in New England since 2008.
Is that true?
Yeah. And the only reason that they won that game is because Matt Castle was playing, because Brady had the torn ACL that year. So it's been a minute since they've won there. And they've lost the last 2 games to them, to Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones. They just can't beat this team.
Goodness.
It's not good. Yeah. It's not good.
Yeah. And I don't know. This is another one where, and I know that you will want me to be in on the Steelers here. This is another one.
No. Like I'm a very realist when it comes to the team, and they're not defensively, especially. They're horrible right now.
This is another one where I'm like, I'm gonna, from a betting standpoint, I'm gonna stay away from this and maybe look for a few props that I like.
Yeah.
You know, like that's where I would go with this one, because I just don't feel like I've seen enough to feel confidently about the Steelers or the Patriots in either way. The Patriots have been interesting in the sense that I think people really got over their skis in the preseason evaluation of this team, and thought that, you know, we heard a lot of predictions of like, hey, if there's a team that's going to go worse or like, you know, a sub 500 team that's going to make the play, like who is that going to be? A lot of people were like Patriots for the biggest turnaround this year.
Yeah, I was one of them, by the way. I'm very much on the Patriots boat.
So, but help me understand that, because for me, I thought it felt like, I mean, we talked earlier about the vibes analysis, right? Like it feels a little vibes analysis to predict that for the Patriots coming off a 4-win season. We more than doubled in terms of their win total. The prediction was like, what was it, set at 8.5, I think, going into the season. And so you're like, we're predicting they're going to more than double their win total. And why? Like, we added Vrabel. We think that the coaching staff was, even if you are like, yes, the coaching staff was a big problem for New England last year. Like, what else? I mean, they spent a lot of money in free agency, but like, it just didn't, I don't know. Like, just looking at the offense, I don't know that I saw enough changes. Like, who is their number one wide receiver? Who is it? And
Yeah.
I would have said that going into the year, and I'm still saying it heading into week 3. Like, I don't know what they want to do. I don't know what is your identity? Like, what do you want to do? Who are your people that you want to do it for you? I don't know those answers, and that feels concerning to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think what they want to do is be able to run the ball and take some of the pressure off of Drake May. But a lot of my belief in this team does come from Drake May. I thought he, with the circumstances he was given last year, still played very well and showed some like signs of, all right, yeah, this guy could be very, very good. I think the defensive additions as well, like, getting Carlton Davis to put opposite of Christian Gonzalez, who is questionable for this game. He hasn't played yet this season. But, bringing in Milton Williams, bringing in Robert Spillane, like a lot of underrated additions for the defense. And I love Vrabel as a coach. He's a proven winner, a guy that has, put less than teams. He had the Titans as the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like he does. He
With
raises
Derrick
the
Henry.
ceiling. That's the big caveat though. But his quarterback was also Ryan Tannehill, who, it's not like he was a world beater. So I believe in Vrabel. I believe in McDaniels as an OC, not as a head coach whatsoever, but I think as a play caller, he's one of the better ones in the league. So I just think there was a lot of good things that they were doing to get rid of all the bad things they did last offseason. They also play in, like, outside of Buffalo, like you play the Dolphins and Jets twice a year. I think that counts for at least 3 wins. And schedule wise, they're playing a last place schedule. So all that put together led me to say, okay, this could be, a 9-win, 10-win team that sneaks in as the 7 or 6 seed.
So how are you, where are you leaning here in this one?
Oh, the Patriots are going to win.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah,
Oh, that was easy. Okay.
Yeah. No, the Steelers defense right now is, like, efficiency wise, like bottom 5 and almost like every major efficiency statistic. Third down, they're bad. The way that they play defense is so infuriating, and it's been highlighted on a bunch of different shows so far. So, I'm kind of regurgitating some stuff. But in week 1, they got beat by Justin Fields to Garrett Wilson on a long touchdown pass where they were playing soft cover 1, and the Jets just ran crossers to beat the high safety and leaving Darius Slay out to dry against Garrett Wilson. The Seahawks ran the exact same play to Torrey Horton last week, and it worked for a touchdown there too. So it's just, there's no adjustments. It feels like Mike Tomlin is just kind of stuck in the past when it comes to the way that he coaches. And I've been very over Mike Tomlin for a while as a Steelers fan. And I think a lot of people are kind of subscribing to that thought process as well now. They're just a team that has a coach who's coasting off of previous success where there hasn't been a lot of success in recent memory. And offensively, it's like we were billed as the Steelers are going to be a team who gets carried by their defense. Aaron Rodgers won't have to do everything. Like, Aaron Rodgers has played pretty well over the first 2 weeks of the year, and the defense has been what's held them back, which is not what I expected to be talking about 2 weeks into the year. I feel like there's something you want to say. But
no.
space.
I'm leaving. Nope.
Okay.
If Gonzalez does play, I feel like that feels like an interesting thing to look for here that could maybe tilt this in an otherwise game that I feel like is tough to call. Like, I feel like if you take Gonzalez out, then what does that mean from a Steelers pass game standpoint? If he's in, I'd like to see him in those matchups against DK.
Yeah.
If not, I don't know. I feel like this one's a too close to call for me.
I think, just recent history telling me anything, the Steelers are just very bad against New England. So I'm probably going to go. They'll start 1-2. They'll beat Minnesota and Ireland to get to 2-2 going into the bye. But yeah, the vibes aren't great right now after a bad performance against Seattle.
I do like Drake.
I like Drake a lot.
Like you, yeah. I think that they're onto something there. And similar to the conversation that I had about the Chargers pass catchers, like I need them to start putting some people around him so that we can fully develop him and take advantage. Like
I agree.
we shouldn't be in a position, with the Chargers, you've got Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson kind of like playing well now. And maybe maybe Quentin just needed time to develop. And now maybe we found the perfect kind of alchemy there. But the fact that we went through the entire season last year with the Patriots saying, well, again, I do a lot of stuff in the fantasy space. Like there's no one playable. There's no one playable in terms of their pass catchers, except for maybe like Hunter Henry or something like that. But at tight end, but like in terms of their wide receivers, I really, really wanted someone to emerge as a wide receiver one. And I did not expect it to be Steph Diggs. And so I'm not surprised about that. But like, the fact that we're kind of all over the map there, I'd like that for Drake May's development. I just don't think that we're going to get there this year necessarily.
All right. Colts Titans. The Colts are 4.5-point favorites. I've loved what Cam Ward has done in the first 2 weeks of the season. Stat wise, like, I know that box score stats and some of the advanced stats don't love him. There's been like 6 throws though that he's made where I'm like, yeah, I think he's going to be good. And I know that that's a very like select thing to, pick and choose certain plays where you see a guy make a good throw and be like, yeah, I think there's something there. But yeah, the play last week against Los Angeles where he just does like a complete run to the right, throw it across his body for a touchdown. Like that's stuff that, if 15 in Kansas City did it, we'd still be watching clips of it and everybody on every major network talking about it for a week. So not to say that he's going to be Mahomes or anything like that, but there does seem to be a gamer in him. That's the best way I can describe it. Dude's a gamer.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mean this is a one-to-one comparison, but I also think that there is some, it can be problematic to fall into a pulling out plays with someone when they do things that are flashy and exciting. And you're like, because obviously every quarterback should have the ability to do something crazy at all times. Right. And like Caleb, I'm thinking of Caleb, which is the one-to-one that I didn't want to make, but kind of when you said that about Cam made me think of Caleb, because Caleb has the ability to do things that make you go, what? And that's where I was sold on him as a prospect. Like I followed him at USC. I'm a USC fan. And so I was thinking that there was a lot of Patrick Mahomes in his game, in terms of the ability to pull out things that, when he was off schedule, he just did these flashy things that were clearly him and his athleticism. And, but the problem is being able to quarterback on a play-by-play basis and be efficient and diagnose the defense. And I don't think I've seen anything there that is indicative one way or the other about Cam Ward. Like I don't know the answer yet, and I did not expect to know the answer yet. And if I did know the answer yet, if we were seeing him dominate or play above our level of expectation consistently through 2 games, then I would be very impressed, right? Like that was not my expectation. I thought he would probably enter the league and be in the bottom half in a lot of different categories, and that wouldn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Because quarterbacks, the game comes fast. There's so much that these guys need to get adjusted to. Yep. And so the fact that he is still adjusting, which I think he is, I don't think that we've seen enough of that consistency to feel confident that he's going to be able to like win you games and or not lose you games, right? Like I think that we're still see as many of those just egregious rookie mistakes as we see those flashy wow plays. And I think that that's kind of fine, honestly. It's going to be a learning curve. But for that reason, I feel pretty confident in the Colts this week. That said, I don't think we're going to learn that much about the Colts this week. And that kind of like, I'm looking out to next week when the Colts play the Rams. And I feel like that's going to be a big week for the Colts because I think we're waiting to see, is this Colts team for real? And people are starting to talk about them like, hey, no one thought the Colts were going to be good. And I, not wanting to be a hater, am like, let's just time out on that because we need a larger sample size, to know whether they're good or whether or not they've just played well in certain games against certain opponents and certain things, like, so
this is such a horrible way to like go about it, but like I'm gonna pick the Titans simply because I just can't see the Colts being 3-0. I can't do it.
No, I'm the same way about the Chiefs Giants.
Yeah,
right?
like 0-3 is
not going to be 0-3.
Yeah,
not. So that's the end of that. That's how I pick that game. Like
Yeah.
easy. Like there's just no chance. And so I'm with you in that sense. Like, but I also think there is a chance that the Colts are 3-0.
there certainly is. There certainly is.
And we're like, the Colts are good. Oh my gosh, the Colts versus the Rams. And then they come out and they just get smoked by the Rams. But
They could.
for that reason, I actually pulled up the Colts schedule. Earlier this week, and I was like, oh crap, we might never learn. Like their schedule's not that hard. They don't have that many games on their schedule where you're like, that's an obvious loss.
This
like,
could be a situation similar, and again, it's apples to oranges here, but like when the Giants did make the playoffs a few years ago, and then the minute they played like the Eagles, they just get absolutely dominated.
Oh no, good team now.
Yeah, not good.
I don't know why I just turned into like
a Minnesota. Yeah.
Oh no.
All right. The New York Jets, led by Tyrod Taylor, will play the also 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Not a lot for me to talk about here. Tampa Bay played really well in the first 2 weeks. Baker's looked pretty solid. Defensively, they've looked solid. I love Baker. Like
so good, right?
Yeah. Like what a story.
What's not to love about Baker? Like he just, I don't know. And I actually kind of think the fact that he had those early career sort of struggles.
I don't think he's the Baker he is now, if not for that.
But also, it's what makes his bravado likable as opposed to obnoxious.
Yes, I
right?
agree.
Like the fact that he kind of like fell out of this team and then fell out of that team, then went to the Ram. Like, I mean, the fact that he moved around as much as
was
he
playing
did,
defensive end on the Panthers scout team.
like now when he stands up and starts talking some shit, you're like, yes,
yeah,
like that. It's just, I feel like he almost needed to not be number 1 overall pick Baker for that to be likable. Anyway,
he needed to be cut by the Panthers Baker to be able to get to where he's at now. So, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about here. Backup quarterback for the Jets, although Tyrod is one of the better backups in the game. But the Jets just don't have the horses, especially offensively.
So bummed about Justin Fields.
We talked about that before the season where it's like, okay, if there's a team that could lean into Justin Fields being Justin Fields, it was going to be this Jets team. And in week 1 they did, and it worked out. Week 2, it didn't.
I know. And we've already talked about this, but I just think like what he really needed was a team to go, you're my guy. There's no one right over your shoulder. Like we're with you. And we'll see. It's a bummer that he's hurt. So we can't just go like, okay, let's get right back on that horse. We're still there, like, and see what that does. But that game was rough. That game last week was rough, man. Yeah. And I got real excited after week 1. And I was like, he can throw the ball.
He looked really good throwing the ball in week 1. Yeah.
And then he did not at all.
Then he threw for 27 yards in week 2. It wasn't good. I think confidently we're both taking the Bucs here.
Yeah.
All right. Jake Browning against Carson Wentz. What a time to be alive. I guess Cincinnati, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure as hell not betting on this game.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I do think Jake Browning is a pretty good backup.
Good backup.
And when he played in 2023, like some of his stats are stupid.
Although he did just throw 3 interceptions against Jacksonville. So like he's not
that's a problem.
Yeah.
But also I'll say this. I think that there's a slight difference when you come in off the bench.
That's fair.
Versus when it's your game. And we saw him for a pretty extended period of time in 2023 where it was his. He had the whole week to prepare. He knows that he's the guy. He goes in and he played well.
He had a big game against the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken, in that year.
There you go. That said,
wasn't that the team that cut him? I'm pretty sure.
Yes. And then he had that moment on the bench where he came over and got in the camera and was like, shouldn't have effing cut me.
I gotta tell you that was annoying. Like, all right, dude, relax.
I don't know. I love that.
Again,
I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
Same Baker. Like if you get cut, I'm rooting for you.
That's fair.
Like if someone says no, now I'm on team you.
That's fair.
Right?
I'll give you that.
Prove yourself back in. Go ahead and do all the nerdy Kirk Cousins. You like that? Like do it.
See, I like the Kirk Cousins you like.
Yes.
That I think I just pick and choose, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's what it
Hater.
is. But I'm going to pick the Bengals. Yeah, just because, yeah, I guess so. Although I was the last person, on the Carson Wentz train. So maybe like I'll be happy if, oh, yeah.
That's actually one of the things that I'm interested about here is because, so we talked a lot last year with the whole Sam Darnold coming back and plopping him into an environment that we described as healthy and good, and like the pass catchers, it's good, right? So now are we going to see a similar type of thing with Carson Wentz where you plug him into
Maybe.
Kevin? The JJ McCarthy thing with the Vikings so far is I feel like it's as expected of a roller coaster, similar to the way I talked about Cam Ward. Like you're gonna have just inexperience level mistakes, or like you have to get used to playing in this league at the speed at which things are coming at you, and the ability to diagnose things defensively, and also to develop a rhythm of like, exactly the timing that's necessary so that your brain and your arm and your body are all working together in tandem. I think that just takes time. And so Carson's had that time. And I don't think Carson is as good a quarterback, clearly, or else he wouldn't be in this situation. But I do wonder if you plug Carson into this offense, if we're going to see similar results, not maybe to the degree of Sam Darnold, but kind of similar, where you go, oh, competence. Like you don't have to be great. You just have to be good. Right. And we can make this work. And then the Vikings defense with all of their blitzes against Browning. I think I might be leaning Vikings.
You know what? I think you just talked me into it. I'm going to actually switch and pick the Vikings. It's also, and like I said, a big Carson Wentz guy, but it is very funny that like all like ultimate conservative Carson Wentz in the blue is the sky state of Minnesota. That's just, I don't know. That's silly to me. I don't know why.
That's so funny. Yeah.
But I love Carson Wentz. I hope he plays well. Houston and Jacksonville, the 0-2 Texans against the Jaguars, where if the Jaguars win this game and the Colts lose, then it's, two teams that are 2-1, top the AFC South. Am I saying this because I picked the Jaguars to win the South? Perhaps. But if the Texans go to 0-3, like I can't see it happening. I think Houston's going to win this, but their offensive line's a real problem. The Jaguars got a real pass rush. That's going to be my biggest, like, when watching this is going to be like, all right, what's the offensive line look like against Josh Hines-Allen and the pass rush of the Jaguars? That's going to be the thing that ultimately decides the game.
Yeah, the Texans defense is pretty good. And so that's where I'm the most interested, is watching the Jags offense versus the Texans defense in this one, who kind of wins out in that regard. I also am very interested to see if we can get Brian Thomas Jr. unlocked.
Who looked like he didn't want to get touched by a Bengals defender last week, when, if we can call that going for a reception, but very much shying away from contact, which is weird.
But also I think we're seeing a Liam Cohen style bump for Travis Etienne.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, that's been fun. So I think I might be leaning Jaguars here.
If you had to pick a quarterback right now to lead your franchise for the next 5 to 10 years, you get CJ Stroud. You're not a Trevor person. Yeah, no. Sorry. I am a Trevor guy. Maybe I'm just gonna have to die on that hill.
Okay, what do you convince me? Try. What do you like about him?
A lot of it is tools, and what we saw in 22, where they started off the season slow. They had that really nice comeback win against Baltimore. They rally, they win the division, and it just felt like he was getting a level of comfortability in the offense with Doug Peterson. And then the next year, they're sitting at 8-3. Every bit of success they had that year was because Trevor was playing well, and then he gets a bunch of injuries. He starts playing poorly, and then in conjunction, the team just falls apart. I just feel like he's been in situations where everything has been put on him. Yeah. And not to say that he's obviously I'm a Trevor guy, but some guys, you can't just plug in a guy and expect him to do everything. Like Patrick Mahomes can do that. Josh Allen can do that. Lamar can do that. Maybe Trevor's just probably not going to be in that tier of guys. And so he's going to need a little bit more help than you would with an elite quarterback. So I think with him, he didn't do me any favors in defending him, throwing the worst red zone interception I've ever seen against Cincinnati last week, where he just looked like it was intended for who did he throw that to? It's escaping me. Might have been DJ Turner. But in terms of what he brings, there's something there's a star in there that's fighting and clawing to get out, and I really hope it gets out.
I do like his commercial with Travis Hunter. I'm also
that is fun. Yeah,
it is. I was pulling up our Sumer score data
Yeah.
on him as we talked here, and in week 1 we have him ranked 20th in that category, and he was 24th in week 2. I feel like there's he's in as good a situation as he's been in, and I think the points that you made about the like he's just been in some real rough situations in terms of his early development, and those are important years, right, for a quarterback in their first couple of years to be with a good coaching staff or in good offensive environments. There have been times that I have questioned even just like the way that they're using their top wide receivers, just like go route, sideline, like let's get creative, and we're seeing a lot more of that creativity this year now that they have Liam Cohen at the helm. And so like I talked about motion and play action, they are 8th in motion rate and 9th in play action, and their EPA on plays with motion is 1st in the league. Like these are, they're 10th in play action, 9th in play action EPA. So again, these are, I think that sometimes is a sign of whether or not your coach has the ability to do a lot of things at once.
Yeah.
Right. And make it sort of like whether there's deception kind of coming from the offense. And I think that's a good sign for the Jags moving forward. And now we just need to see whether or not they can get that target earner and Brian Thomas Jr. unlocked. And then now we're cooking with gas.
I think it was Aaron Schatz who made the joke. Like the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now are Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and the idea of Trevor Lawrence.
The idea of Trevor Lawrence.
And I totally agree. It's like, it's something in there. I think right now, like I did my rankings ahead. Of course, we talked about it, the whole list thing that we all have to do apparently. I think
June.
I put him in June. I think I had him at like 13. So right now, like that's where I had him coming into the year. We need to see more.
That's optimistic. I think, but just based on what we've seen. But I think that's also, I don't know, that's fair. Like I'm the person that has always been like the bang the drum for Sam Darnold every year. Like maybe, although my bang the drum is usually don't throw him away yet. Like we don't know that he's bad yet. It's not, I'm not arguing usually ever in these cases that the person is good. This is the same with Justin Fields. It's just, we don't know that he's a bust. We don't know that he is bad. And I think that that's probably fair to say about Trevor Lawrence. And then I think we might find out this year, but we'll see.
I feel like we're going to start having interesting conversations about CJ Stroud as well, because the starts of this season so far hasn't been good. Obviously the offensive line play isn't good, but he's also first year of calling protections. And that seems to be throwing a wrench into their offense where, we saw Todd Bowles just had his pass rushers put their ears back and just go send blitzes constantly. And it worked out. The Rams did something very similar. So I do think that, the offensive line's bad, but also CJ's got to be better at identifying things pre-snap to put his offensive line in position to be successful. So
agreed.
We'll see what comes of that. Saints Seahawks. Oh Lord, I don't Seattle, but like who's watching that outside of Seahawks and Saints fans? Even some Saints fans are gonna be like, I'm good.
Yeah. I don't know that that's going to be a huge draw.
Yeah. I'll take Seattle, and there's not much else I have to say about that game other than, credit to New Orleans for being in their first 2 games. Like they've had shots of being, each game that they've had so far has been decided by 1 score.
I want to see, my interest in this game is more Seattle, and it's just because I don't necessarily have questions about New Orleans. I kind of put them in that, like, they're also playing this season category.
They're in terms of the give a shit index, they're definitely below it. Yeah.
Lower. Like this is the rebuild year. That's great. I'm glad that we're finally doing it. All of those things checkbox, but not as interested on Sundays. The Seahawks feel like an interesting team on offense, because I feel like the defense, okay, like we're taking strides in the right direction there. That's their coach's, area of expertise. And so that's expected. And then they changed so many things on the offensive side of the ball this year. And so it's like the Jackson Smith and Jigba target share has been
absurd.
44%
Goodness.
is his target share. That's wild. By the way, Zay Flowers, 42%.
That's kind of surprising, but then I guess if you think about everybody else in the Ravens offense, they've got a deep core. Like Bateman's there, Hopkins, yeah,
they play. They're also there. And Mark Andrews hasn't been as much of. We're seeing it's kind of a shift there from
Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews, insert unrelated photo of Patrick Ewing in a Orlando Magic uniform. It's kind of Mark Andrews at this point.
A little bit. It feels that way so far. But I want to see if the Seahawks any of these other weapons can emerge, right? Like
Torrey Horton had a nice touchdown catch last week. So
that's my guy that I'm keeping an eye on. Yeah. And then I've thought it was fascinating that AJ Barner. I thought Elijah Arroyo was going to be the tight end that we were watching there in the passing game, and that AJ Barner was going to be on the field kind of a little bit more, like that they were going to go heavy, like 12 personnel, and that he would be more the blocking tight end. It hasn't been that way.
He's the grunt tight end.
Kind of, that's what I thought. And then he's out here catching passes and, scoring fantasy points and things. And so but they're a team that I'm at least interested in. I want to see how it starts to develop, and so, but I'm not particularly confident that I know any of the answers. And so I don't feel confident.
7.5 feels like a hefty line for a team like Seattle, where I believe in their defense. Offensively, I just don't know if they're going to put up a ton.
That does feel like a very big line. You're right.
A big line.
I don't know if I feel confident about that.
I don't know if I'm much like that.
Would you take the Saints to
I
cover?
Might take the Saints to cover. I don't know if I'm actually going to do it because I just can't. I can't
be like, gross.
Yeah, if I'm betting on the Saints, I should just probably call the hotline. It's like, all right, I've got a problem. But if you want some action in the late window, maybe Saints plus 7.5, or throwing them in a teaser to take it up to 14.5, maybe do that. It's not a bad idea.
There are other games in the late window. Maybe
there are.
Your attention elsewhere.
There are 2-2-0 teams, the 49ers and the Cardinals, and I don't care that either of them are 2-0. Especially the Cardinals. You barely escaped against the Saints and Panthers. Great fucking job, guys. I just couldn't care less. San Francisco, Mac Jones is going to be starting week 1 somewhere else because he just threw 3 touchdowns against New Orleans, so he just earned himself a starting job next year. I think the 49ers will win. I'll take them to win and cover. I'll say they'll win by 5.
I'm bummed that the Cardinals lost Garrett Williams. I know that's a weird person to be zeroed in on as far as disappointed, but I was kind of interested in the Cardinals secondary in particular coming into this season. Garrett Williams was a guy who scored really well at the cornerback position for us in our Sumer Score metrics last year. I think he was number 1 in coverage at cornerback. He played mostly slot corner, and then they had talked in the offseason about bumping him outside. And so, those are the guys that we end up talking about more often. And I thought that this could be a breakout year for him where people learned his name a little bit more. And so I'm bummed that he got hurt and that he gets lifted out of the equation. And then also what that does just to the team from a trickle down standpoint. And, whether Will Johnson can really emerge as that guy. And so they
drafted a bunch of guys that were if they stay healthy, then hey, good. It's Will Johnson, Walter Nolan, and we've got to see the health thing work out though.
Yeah, but I think I'm with you that the Cardinals haven't done anything yet to make me feel and this is the way I thought of them going into the year, and I still feel that way where individually you can have a conversation about a bunch of different pieces maybe being a little bit underrated on their team, but then the sum of their parts, I wasn't necessarily convinced that they were going to come together and it was going to lead to a bunch of wins. Right.
Yeah,
and
they're a turkey sandwich. They'll get you through the day, but I want some pastrami.
Yeah.
I want some corned beef. I love a Reuben. I really do.
I don't know the last time I had a Reuben.
I've had
pastrami in general.
I'm so gross. I'll go to Arby's and get a Reuben right now.
Will you?
I'm a big Arby's guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Arby's sent me, I don't have it with me, but they sent me a little care package recently.
Because you talked about Arby's.
Because I talked about Arby's enough.
They're wait, we found one.
We found it. Yeah, we found the Arby's. Oh yeah, me and my girlfriend are Arby's degenerates. It's the best. A good roast
Okay.
beef. Yeah, big roast beef guy here.
I don't know. There's something about that type of well, there's something about like a sandwich in a fast food place that's not a sandwich store that feels weird, right? But even like back in the day, like when every fast food restaurant was serving just burgers or burritos, right? Like tacos or burgers, and then they're like, "Would you like a sandwich?"
How
But
about
it's
a
only one
deli
kind of
sandwich?
sandwich. Like we're not even talking about Subway where you're like, "Do you want tomatoes?" Or like it's just like
I could kill a Jersey Mike's every day of my life. I do love a good Jersey Mike's.
Yeah. I think I lean more God, what are the other ones?
Let's see.
Name
There's Firehouse Sub. There's Jimmy
We don't have
John's.
that Jimmy John's is what
There
I
you
was gonna
go.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the slim bread cake. Yeah. I like a Jimmy John's sandwich every once in a while. They might be at the top of my list. Aside from is Togo's a regional chain?
I think so. I've never heard of
Okay,
it.
because I very much like and have for a very long time Togos here in Southern California, and I feel like I can't find them anymore, and that's a shame because they were a very good regional chain here.
Yeah, I've never had. I like the stuff that Subway pretends is tuna. I'll get that. I don't care. It's
Oh God!
it tastes good. Yeah, I had a tuna before we went on air. Tuna and
Did you?
Swiss. Yeah, I air fried it like a real man. Oh, it's
Now, are
delish.
you like buying pre-made tuna? Are you
Yeah.
like getting a can and then like squeezing out the water and
No, it's
like how?
just like the pre-made pouches, like the deli style Starkist stuff, and you just scrape that out onto bread. Put a
Does it
piece.
already have like the mayo and stuff all
Yes,
mixed in
yes,
it?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Okay.
And then air fry that with a piece of Swiss. Oh, it's the best. It's the best. I'm hungry.
I
But
could do I could do a tuna sandwich.
yeah, I was gonna
Also,
say it's almost lunchtime on the West Coast as we're
yeah.
recording this.
As
Lindsay
we've launched
Rhodes.
into a 5-minute aside
Yes.
about sandwiches.
I could talk. I should do a food podcast. Honestly, it's the best. Lindsay Rhodes of Sumer Sports. What's coming on your end in terms of the content world, and what Sumer got coming for in the foreseeable future?
Well, so this past week we just did a podcast that I very much enjoyed doing, and it is still kind of evergreenish. So if anybody is looking for something to do on a Saturday while they're running errands or like, whatever it is that you do on a
Need
Saturday,
something in the background while watching like Arkansas against like the University
there
of
you go.
Toothpaste. It's still pretty early in the college football season where they're
No.
playing nobody teams.
Nobody's, yeah.
Yeah.
USC, I'm looking at you.
Who does USC play this week?
I don't even know. That's so sad.
Sour Cream State or
Hold
whatever.
please. USC football versus what? Oh, Michigan State.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Conference. Oh, you know what? I guess conference play does start this week. It's week 4.
We played Purdue last week, so
Oh,
it already
okay.
we played 2 games that were like a little bit embarrassing in terms of the opponent. Just like, yeah, we scored 73 points, but
Yeah, you're playing like
did we learn anything? Did we gain anything but confidence? Anyway, back to the Sumer Sports Show.
yes. My apologies.
The podcast that we did this past week, I thought was very interesting, and so you can go download that wherever you get your podcast or watch it on YouTube at Sumer Sports. We did it on the kickoff changes. And so, as you know, they've changed like where a touchback comes out to the 35 and a lot of the rules. Like it looks different, right? You've got like the kickoff and the coverage, like both teams are lined up 5 yards apart, most of the players. And so it looks really weird, but I think that they finally found something that will kind of check all the boxes that they want. They found something that will protect the players from these collisions, these high-speed collisions, which is why they originally, moved away, started changing the kickoff back in 2011 because way too many concussions. But then the problem was with the changes they made is that nobody returned. Everybody was like, a touchback is a better outcome here. And so it was just a nothing play where like all of these plays were just getting kicked into the end zone, like coming out. Now they have changed they've changed the rules to disincentivize that. And So one of the things that we looked into the data, by the way, kickoffs are being returned at a 78% clip
Pretty
through
crazy.
2 weeks. That is very high, up from 34% last year and like 20 something the year before. So at least we're seeing some returns back in the game so that we can turn that back into an exciting play potentially. But then strategically, what to do on those plays, we're not seeing that many teams do what feels like the optimal thing to do, which is to squib kick it or do some what you could call a line drive kick, or what we talked to Matt Stover on the podcast, what he called a dirty ball kick. And he said from a kickoff perspective that this was actually something that a good kicker should be able to do no problem, which was the built-in excuse for me about why teams aren't doing it yet. They're still kicking off like it's a normal kickoff. And it feels like they're not taking advantage of the things you could do. If you squib kick this and you directionally kick it to drop it in a certain range, the rules are that the coverage team, that everybody's allowed to leave the line as soon as the ball hits the ground. So if you do that, then your blockers, everybody can get to the returner faster, right? Because they're fumbling around trying to pick it up. Like they don't catch it cleanly and go. And if they catch it cleanly and go, then you're leaving at the same time they are. And so you don't have an advantage in terms of spacing. So change the line of scrimmage, bring it down. Like we think you could pick up 10 extra yards.
Oh, wow.
And so I've been surprised that we haven't seen that many teams do it so far. We have seen a few do it. And we are of the mind, we talked to a special teams coach. We talked to somebody from a data science standpoint. We talked to a former kicker in Matt Stover. And then we talked to Sean Syed, who's like our X's and O's scheme guy. And everyone was in agreement that this is clearly the strategy with which teams should approach this play. And so you can go back and listen to it. Now that I've literally just redone the entire podcast and you have no incentive to do that, go listen to it so that you can be convinced also. And then welcome to my world on Sunday. You can be frustrated with me about why teams aren't doing this.
I love it. Very good. And if everybody's watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you're listening to this as a podcast, leave a comment, leave a review, do all that fun stuff. Lindsay, thank you so much for a great show. Enjoy your weekend. And everybody listening, enjoy your weekend of football. We'll be back on Monday to preview Lions Ravens. So until then, yeah, good time. Good time. So until then, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is The Pump Fake.